All right, here we are. I was like, whew, I thought I wasn't doing it right, and I wasn't, because I could see on my Instagram stories that I was not live. So welcome to the live. I'm so happy to have you guys here. This is a free kind of tutorial workshop. Not necessarily how I do my sip and paints. My sip and paints are normally 100% draw, outline, and then paint, all with paints. But today I'm going to speed up the process a little by using some markers. And I get a lot of people that ask me, how do you do marker to paint? And it's just a newer way of doing things that I've been doing for about the last, maybe like the last year. I've been testing out my concept dual tip markers from Jerry's Artarama. These have been a really nice addition to my materials in my studio. And what I love about this is you can draw on your picture, fill up the white on the page basically, and then that way when you paint, you don't have to put as much hard work into it. So if you want to draw along, I'm going to be teaching how to draw this character. I know you can see it, but I'm just going to go over areas and you guys are just going to draw along as we go. It's already there. It's already placed. Usually when I do my sip and paint for Art Hero Monthly, we don't see anything really on the page. I draw it from scratch, but since today is like a free tutorial, it's fairly quick. I just wanted to make sure I run through it a little faster. So if you want to draw this character, I'm going to give you a few tips with pencil, going to go over it with marker, and you can just kind of pick it up as you go. I'm using always watercolor paper. I love the texture of watercolor paper. It's kind of gritty. It has the little bumps in there to create natural texture, which is really nice. And then your marker will pretty much fit on the whole page and soak up everywhere that you put your marker, but paints with the brush won't necessarily get every single spot on the page, and that's why I absolutely love watercolor paper. So if you miss this or you have to leave during the episode here, you can certainly come back and rewatch. It's free for the public. You want to join the chat while I'm live, you can sign into YouTube. It's totally free to make a YouTube account, and that way you can join the chat box and ask questions while I'm live. As soon as I'm gone, I won't be able to offer that experience anymore, but thank you to anyone who's tuning in live right now. I also wanted to say that you can join my sip and paint by going to critterosityshop.com. Going to the menu and then clicking on Art Hero Monthly, and you can read more and sign up. It is $10 a month. You can cancel it anytime, sign up anytime, but the rewards go out the following month that you sign up. So if you sign up in March, the next time you'll be able to join in. We're always a month behind on rewards. We'll give you a link in April for March, and then you can just click on it and join in the fun or rewatch it anytime. You're paying for that. But today it's free because you're lucky, just like this little guy. Okay, so what I did was I drew an oval first. If you need to, you can break your page into 4. Okay, I know it's a little wobbly, a little shaky. And then we're going to add some little lines for the corners. The reason I move really fast in these videos is you can pause them, rewind them anytime starting now. So if I'm going too fast or you miss something, you can rewind. Obviously, you can't fast forward when I'm live, but that way when you go back to rewatch, you don't have to wait for me to hold and pause. You get to pause and control how this video is viewed. So I'm going to move quickly, but just know you can pause it anytime now and rewind. Okay, so I'm going to draw and connect these little lines, and that way I stay away from the edges. It's creating a boundary for me. So that way I don't go out. And if I do go off the edge, it's okay, because if I don't frame it or I do frame it, maybe I'm okay with that not really being seen. But if you add a frame, sometimes there's matting and you want to make sure that you're not cutting all of your picture off. So this keeps you tucked in. If you decide to paint this on an 8x8, just know all you have to do is follow the same rules, create that grid. And as long as you're drawing the shapes where I'm drawing them in the squares in that space, it will equal the exact same as a 5x5. You can expand it and blow it up. This is a technique I learned when I was in 8th grade in art class, and we would create, we would take like a newspaper clipping from like a comic book, let's say Garfield, and we draw the little squares, and as long as we drew the lines in those exact squares, even if we were drawing on a bigger page, it would basically expand the picture naturally. So try to follow along. If I'm drawing the oval here, basically you want to make sure just this goes in that top corner. Then when you create this part of the oval, more of it goes. This corner only has a little bit, and then it goes into this fourth square right here. So that's kind of how you can take my drawings and make them bigger. And that reminds me, I should say, please do not sell, copy, print, redo this. This is for you. You can give it away for free to a family member. You can decorate your home with it. But I just ask that you please respect that this is a character I've designed. It's my layout. It's my idea, my concept, but I'm sharing it with you to be a part of it. I hate that I have to do that speech, but I feel like some people have gone and thought that since they drew it, it's theirs. But sadly, no. So just keep that in mind, please. All right, so now that we've drawn our oval, we're going to go down the middle here. Okay, so we've got our oval. We have that line for our squares, but this is a different line. This is a line cutting our character down the middle from that oval, okay? So see how close I drew it there. Now what we're going to do is we're gonna create a little shape like this. So kind of look at the new shapes I'm drawing. Remember, you can pause, rewind, go back anytime you want. So I have this nice little shape. It's bigger at the top, smaller at the bottom. That's to create interest. You're going to hear that word or that phrase a lot, create interest. It means a lot of things are very flat and boring. Then I droop it down for the rest. Okay, it almost looks like a smiley face as if there were teeth in there. Thank you so much, Maria Vega Paints. Cheers to you for this sip and paint. And yes, this is my happy place, being here, painting with my friends on the interwebs, the virtual world that we are now living in. Welcome. Okay. I'm taking a sip of my coffee before it gets cold, okay? Now we're going to make an E, 1, 2, starting at the top of our design. I'm going to zoom in a little, okay? And then we're going to add another loop. Boom. Everyone that's like, I'm afraid of hands. I don't like fingers. Neither do I. I don't like any kind of phalanges except my, the ones on our actual body. I don't like drawing any kind of feet, any kind of hands. But the great part about cartooning, rules in art. But if you want it to look realistic, you really do need to take some lessons on how to draw anatomy. Anatomy is still very helpful in drawing cartooning because you will kind of understand movement and how things bend and don't bend and what makes sense and what doesn't. However, it is a cartoon and you can do anything you want. Let's see. Lucky Squatch is so cute. Thank you, Parks and Okay, now we're going to draw a line diagonal, just a little bit diagonal. Okay. So there's that. And if you have any questions, like where do we draw that? How do we do that? You can always ask those questions while I'm live. Okay, now I'm going to, right at this cross here, where our two lines meet, I'm going to create a nose. Now you don't have to do the nose I'm doing. Nose. You can make any nose you want. Get it? Nose. Yeah, so that's good. It is the coffee crew. It is the coffee crew. I had to reheat mine because I was getting ready for my sip and paint and I completely forgot that my coffee was just sitting there waiting to be drinkated. Okay, up next, we're going to create the eyes. Now, I decided to go with simple little cutesy eyes. I didn't want to do anything too crazy. If you want to make your eyeballs really big or with pupils and white around them, you go right on ahead. But sometimes I love the little simplistic look of the characters and I love just 2 dots. It's like it's enough. It's enough for it. So it will be finished. The coffee will be gone by the end of this. For sure, probably well before it. Okay, and now I'm making some eyebrows. And eyebrows are really important for expression. If you're drawing the eyebrows too close, you might get a little cute unibrow, which is adorable. And that would be really cute too if you made a little unibrow. You could make them going downward, and that would, of course, make an angry look. So you want to soften the look by all of that. Okay. It can't get too cold if it's a cold brew. The problem is I drink cold brew way too fast. When it's hot, I'm like, slow it down. Slow it down. See, if you're not in the chat, you're missing these conversations. Okay, up next, I'm going to make the smile. Now, I wanted a really, really happy smile because it's a lucky Squatch. He loves spreading the luck around, okay? So I've gone really far out, man. And then I use a big U shape, an upside down rainbow, if you will, to finish that look. Now look where I'm drawing, okay? It just dipped down into that fourth square over here, okay? So if you want it to look like mine, try to draw within the squares that I'm drawing in, okay? If you want it to look your own way, awesome. If you want to share this image when you're done with it, whether you just do a pencil sketch, just add the outlines, you decide to stop at markers, maybe use crayons, maybe use colored pencils, or you go the fee. I always look for shapes. It looks like a number 3. So sometimes you can't get a shape you're looking for. Turn your page. Try to imagine it being something else. This is why I tell people, do that trick where you look at clouds and try to form shapes, because it's going to get your brain to start to see things in a different way. So I always try to think, is it a letter like our real way? And that's going to be the tongue. Whoop. There you go. So you have a little tongue there. Okay, so honestly, Squatches are really pretty simple. It's all about technique and how we're drawing them and where we put the horns. If you go too high, it's not really a Squatch. If you go way low, it's not really the Squatches I draw. But if you want to change it to that, that's fine. The Squatch family is massive. There's Yetis, there's Squatches, they're all related. Tilting his head a little bit, I'm going to kind of get a line going of where the other horn would stop, about right there. But remember, it's cartoon. Perfect. You didn't line unless you want it all cut off. But I'm going to draw my hair loops going this way. And look at that. I've just kind of 1, 2, 3, just drawn some fun little loops for the hair. All Squatches are unique, just like every person in this world. I'd like to think I'm a Squatch. Most definitely. Definitely a Squatch. I'm a weirdo. I'm fun. I'm fuzzy. I'm weird. Did I already say that? Because I'm weird. But I just want you guys to have fun with the character design. Don't think too hard about it. Okay, and now I can draw that other horn kind of like over here. Maybe my horn is more rounded. Maybe it's pointier over here. Who cares? But if you sit there and you're like this in your little world and you're drawing super tiny and super small, guess what? It's not going to have that charm to it. You need to open up. You need to hold your pencil farther out. You need to draw loosely, draw really light until you really like a line, and then you can make it a little darker. Remember, we're going to draw over this with a permanent marker, so don't worry if you mess up. But that's why I always sketch soft. Wavy, ziggy zaggy, zaga zaga. All right, don't forget, feeling very lovely today. But if you want to join every month, or you want to do a couple months, take a break, come back, you can sign up anytime for Sip and Paint on my Art Hero monthly rewards, and it's $10 a month. The perks are, one, you get to hang out with me. I mean, hello. No, I'm just kidding. And then an Astrid and Thor who walk through, as they are doing now, under my table asking me for food. You'll get to hear from them. Sometimes they make an appearance on the table. You never know. But also, if you end up winning something like this through my auctions on Pop Shop Live, and you win an auction, you can say, hey, I'm one of your Art Hero monthly members and I will knock off $10 for you, okay? Or give you a free month, basically. So you're getting that $10 back. Doing is I'm lifting my pencil right about here to keep that rhythm going, but then I touch it back down past the finger, okay? So practice that for a second. You're like, Eva, there's no line there. There is, I promise you. It's just that I lifted my pencil where I don't want to draw, but you want an organic feeling to when you're drawing. If you don't know how to do that, go ahead and draw that shape completely and then just kind of erase. I usually use erasers, not on my pencil, to kind of clean things up, erasing that light little spot. Okay, right under that oval, you're going to start a second one, but guess what? It's going to stop right there. Okay, so I make like a little C shape. I start at the top and go down. That's kind of where the fold is, where it's going to tuck under and become the bowl of our pot. Our pot of gold. Okay, and now we're going to create a big squishy U shape. Okay, less of a rainbow, but it's there. And now we're gonna hide another lucky thing into our picture. We're gonna hide a horseshoe into it. No one will really know, but it is a horseshoe, okay? We're gonna make a U shape. Remember, you can stop, pause, rewind anytime you want. We're gonna make another U shape, or it could be 2 rainbows. And look, it's not perfect. I don't want it to be perfect. I want it to be kind of wonky wonks. And then I'm going to make a line coming out from my end ones. Okay, I come up a little bit more with the inside one. I'm going to draw another line on top and close up my horseshoe. Look at that. So the handle is a lucky horseshoe. Yes, all the luck is involved in this, all of it. Okay, now we have the pot of gold, which needs to be filled with Lucky Charms. No, well, I mean, you can, but it would be a pot of gold. So I'm just creating kind of like a wonky little, you know, pretend curly Q. That's my pot of gold. So just kind of have some fun and make some little swirls, not super tight. First make like a little cloud and then kind of swirl into it. Okay, what you add to this is up to you, and that's why I love seeing everyone's ideas, because you're like, oh no, I'm gonna do Lucky Charms, that's great. Or I'm gonna fill it with, you know, something else that has nothing to do with gold. Fill it with clam chowder for all I care, just as long as you share some clam chowder, okay? Now I wanted to have the rainbow coming out of it, so I start the bottom part of the rainbow, and now I need to figure out where the top of the rainbow is. I'm not worried about the color scheme in between. First, I want to make sure I know where that's coming out of, so I make my 2 lines. But Eva, the horn is going to be missing. Yeah, that's part of the fun. We're going to kind of make a translucent rainbow where you can still see the horn in the background, but like not. It's going to be nice. And here, you want it big, you want it small. Just remember, if you go past those little lines you made on the edge for the border, it might get hidden. So I'm just letting you know. All right, so I made a little U shape or a wide rainbow shape. Now, if you're pushing really hard with your pencil, you're gonna end up probably smearing it a lot with your hand. See how I have beautiful lead on my hand? Gorgeous, yes, love it. If you don't want it to be super mushy, because it's gonna be a lot of erasing later, just be really careful when you're doing all of this. Okay, now I'm going to make, remember when the body went big to small? We're gonna do that with the hat. We're gonna go really big at the top and then pinch it down. So the top of the hat comes to a little bit smaller spot there at the bottom. We're gonna make a buckle in the middle, and same thing. See how it's little to wide? We're gonna go inward, okay? Big long line, shorter line. And you're gonna copy that technique inside that for the buckle. Okay, and it's okay if it's kind of wonky. That's what makes it cartoony. That's what makes it fun. If it's a perfect square, it's gonna be like, it could be something in really softly though. Okay, it's just like that little belt kind of line going through the background. If you can't see it very well, I'm gonna clean mine up just so you can start to see the difference between the hat and the little whoop. So yes, we're gonna work on painting the character and the hat first, and then the rainbow will be the very end because it's on top of everything. It's gonna be sheer and going through. Okay, now we're gonna finish our little character. See, my little hair got covered, and that's okay, that's natural. That's where the hat lands, and we're good. All right, now you can choose to have a flat line here or a widow's peak. I usually do a widow's peak, but I think in this case, I really like the flat line. So I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna curve it in towards the mouth. I'm gonna do the same on this side. This is the side of the head where we drew our shape at the beginning. Remember this shape? Okay, and then that line has to naturally continue down and come down. Now, I've used what I call a cheat. It's not cheating, but it's just a way to get rid of the other hand that I don't have to watch it. I don't have to work with it anymore. It's hidden. It's holding it on the other side. You know, so we can just pretend like that other hand's back there and we don't have to draw another hand. We can keep it very simple. I'm going to continue this line through the arm. Remember, press down, lift, and press down again, all in one nice movement. And you can always clean this up inside the arm and be like, I don't want that line anymore. Do you want to make some little hairs coming off the back? Do you want to keep it smooth? Whatever you want to do. Now we finish the bottom, and look at that. You've made yourself a cute little Squatch. Now you can stop here and be like, you know what, I'm done. Maybe I'll do the rest of the video another day. Maybe you don't even want to do anything more. You just like this. Completely up to you. Before you erase it, first draw your lines you want to keep. So this is the part where normally I'll go slow. I'm actually going to go kind of quick. So if you have any kind of thin line permanent marker, these are going to be the best. My other pens that I suggest, this one is completely dried out, but I keep it for reference. This is a zebra pen, okay? And you can type in zebra lettering pen. As long as it's this blue tone, this is the best one, and the ends of it are just really, really, really nice. You can press down really hard or you can go lightly, and the best part is it's waterproof. So it starts off like it's gonna be good and then it dries out really fast. So I always keep this one on my desk as a reference. I need to go and order more. I used to get these at Daiso for like $1.50, and I loaded up 100 of them about 4 years ago, and I just now went through my last one. So they held up a really long time, but now I've just switched to a typical Sharpie permanent marker, and I'm just going around, and under the eyes, I'm adding little lines just to add to the cuteness factor. Like he's kind of tired. I don't know. I've always loved that when they have little lines around their eyes. I've got the eyebrows. I've got the mouth drawn in. We've got the teeth, the bottom part of the mouth, going nice and slow. Now I practice a lot and I know my line work, so I can go fairly quick. You might need some extra time. This is where you can always pause and you can do it and then fast forward through me drawing it. It's up to you. Okay, so I'm just kind of adding a little bit of fur texture to the outside of the body. Inside is flat. We've got my arm, got some little fingies. I kind of changed the shape of mine a little, which you're allowed to do. Did you know that? You don't have to stick with what you drew. You can always change your idea or add something if you don't like the way it's feeling. And I never commit to something with my art unless I really like it. And the rainbow with somebody. So we're just going through and fixing it up. We've got the little, I'm just drawing some ovals slightly different, some that are big, some that are kind of hidden and small, some look like circles, and then I'm adding that. You can add a base to the pot of gold. You could be like, there's that. Maybe you want a couple clovers in the ground. Maybe you want some grass. It's up to you, however you want to do it. And then again, I've got my little line for where the rainbow's coming in. Okay, so now that I've done it, you're gonna hate this part. You're gonna get a little sick if you're looking, so you can pause and fast forward. I'm gonna erase. My phone is attached to my table, which is why it does that. So I'm gonna try to erase as smooth as possible, but if it starts to make you sick, look away, look away. I just used my pink eraser. I did have a really nice vanishing eraser from Jerry's Artarama. That's actually what it was called, was vanishing eraser. It was fantastic. I used the heck out of it. And now I'm down to like a few little nubs, but I loved that vanishing eraser. It was fantastic. Oh, and as you start to erase, guess what you're gonna see? Places you didn't draw your permanent marker in. There we go, boom. Okay, and make sure things are dry before you start erasing, because if you erase too much, it might smear. So I always give it a second to kind of dry up on my page. And you'd be shocked if you start going right to watercolor painting or any kind of painting, sometimes it will smear, even if it's a permanent marker. So be really careful about how much water you're using in your paints and stuff like that. I'm using a marker first, so I have a little bit of time to let that, the permanent marker dry. I see some areas I just want to clean up that I didn't necessarily get cleaned up with my pencil. Okay. And then I'm using just a big brush that I bought. You can even use a makeup brush for this, like a, oh, I forget what they're called. I don't really wear makeup, but it's to put on powder. Kabuki brush. I always love the name, Kabuki. Kabuki, Kabuki. All right, so then I kind of wipe off my area to make sure nothing's in my painting surface, to get any kind of, you know, all that yucky shavings from my eraser. Okay, I'm just doing one more wipe. You can never be surprised at how much will show up as you start to paint. It'll like collect on your brush and you're like, no. All right, you can put down something on the surface. I usually use this little laptop board I got, and I'll use a, what do you call it? A magic eraser. Funny, because we're painting magical things. I'll use a magic eraser to kind of clean up my board. Here we go. I'm going to start first with markers. Now again, in my sip and paint, I go straight to paint. I don't even do markers, but today, to speed it up, we are using markers. Now I'm using my Jerry's Artarama, can't talk, concept dual tip markers. These were given to me as part of a pack that they sent me to test out, see if I liked it so that I could promote them. And I absolutely love them. I did not think I would like them. I didn't know how to use them. Now that I know, I love sharing, like, hey, you can coat your whole page, okay, your whole entire page with these markers, and it's gonna cover all those divots with watercolor paper, and it makes the painting go so much faster because your paint is just going over it to add like more of a paint texture. But this is gonna speed up that process. And I consider it a cheat, but I'm still doing the work. Some people only use marker, so I'm doing marker and paint. So it's not really a cheat, it's just a way to go a little faster. And that way I can make more things for more people and still have a very fun painted look by the end. So right now I'm just doing like a wash of color. It's totally okay if I use like a green I don't like, even if it's a really dark green, because my paints can cover anything I don't like, or it can make this dark green look even prettier once I add my paint over it. So I'm just using these markers. They have a pointed side and a flat chiseled side, which I'm using the chiseled. And you can rotate it. You can add it to just a line to make a line, or you can leave it flat and get more coated in the bigger areas. It's really nice. And like I said, in case your ink runs out, but for me, I usually just buy new pens. The refill things always drive me nuts when I'm trying to do it. I have friends that are so good to our earth and just buy the refills for Copic markers and stuff, but I've never had any luck, pun intended. I've never had any luck with refilling. I always seem to screw it up or do it wrong. So now I don't. And I know it makes me bad because the environment's important, but if I don't know how to do something, I don't know how to do something. You know what I'm saying? Okay, now I'm thinking about this. If the rainbow goes over, what color do I want that horn to be? If it's yellow, it's a softer color to cover over, and it might just shine through as a very soft yellow. Or if I do a green, it's gonna really screw up the colors, I think, in front, and it won't look very good. So I think yellow is a safe color in the back. Hi, Tamara, thank you so much for tuning in to the free tutorial today. So appreciate you stopping by, and hello. All right, so I'm gonna go with a yellow that I think would look good for my gold as well. And the only difference is my gold's gonna be heavily coated in a gold paint that's gonna shimmer, which is gonna make it different than just yellow paint on the horns. Okay, and this little one's going to be available 3/25, March 25th on Pop Shop Live to auction. Or wait, no. I'm gonna do it this Friday, and I'm just gonna have an auction, and I might go live. So mark this. Mark this down. This week is the lucky week, and I want you to get free shipping Friday. So I'll probably do just a fun, short little Friday night thing this week, okay? So tune into that if you want to get this one, possibly, this is your jam, or you want to add it to your decor, then that's wonderful. Hi, Daniel. Thank you so much. Hi, Sparkling Ghoul. Appreciate you tuning in. So appreciate it. And I'm just adding a little bit more marker. Now remember, this is not the end of the paint. Well, it's a painting and I'm using marker, but it's not the end of the painting. I need to add paint to really make it. It is one of the only colors you cannot paint over. If you paint over it, you're gonna be like, wow, I covered just fine. What was she talking about? Give it about 10 minutes as your paint is drying and the red will come through. It will bleed, it won't look good. So if you're gonna do the dangerous thing I'm about to do with my red marker, just know I'm very skilled, and I'm going to go very slow and only put it where it needs to go. If I accidentally go in a white area for the teeth, I have screwed everything up and my paint will not cover over it. So I'm going very slowly. I am not looking at the comments because I don't want to mess up and get distracted. If you need to, you can always pull it in. Now, I'm going to show you where I just messed up, but it's okay because I'm using a darker color. See where I went outside? Don't worry. I got it covered. It's the white areas. If you want like a light pink color, it's going to kind of screw up paint and have it not saturate it. Okay, remember when I said that I'm going to use the yellow for the gold as well? Well, it's okay because I'm going to use gold paint to change it from this color to a new color. So don't worry. Don't stress out. Don't be like, Eva, they look the same. It doesn't look good. I got this, okay? I know what I'm talking about here. Okay, so now you've got, and I think this is a lot of the reasons why I avoid leprechauns as like a painting subject, is I'm just not big into like, the green is not one of my favorite colors to use. I know. Green isn't my favorite, and I love using black, but it's just such a harsh color for the hat and the pot of gold. But it works, and it's what we know, and I'm going with stereotyping here on the leprechaun. So I'm going to add the black hat, okay, and the little belt buckle is going to be a different color. The buckle will be gold, but I don't know what color to make the belt on this one. I think I'm going to go with green, obviously. It will play back into the character design colors. Okay, so I'm just coloring this in. But this is why I've created my little characters called floretals, because I have more fun with that green of making it more like a plant character that does rainbows and shoots gold out of their tails than like the actual leprechaun idea. I don't know. It just has always been something I'm like, I don't really vibe with it. But I know other people love it, and I must give the people what they love. You know, so I was like, fine, if we can squatch this and make it less leprechaun and more of like a Squatch leprechaun, that would be better. Now, if you notice, my marker is slowly running out, and that's okay because I am going over this with black paint, but this is going to help me save on paint because you'll start to see that when I put the black paint down, I barely have to coat it. Whereas when it's white paper and I use direct, like just paint directly on it, I'm going to use so much paint doing what I'm doing with this marker, coating it and covering it. So that's why I like to tell people, hey, buy the dual tip markers or any kind of less alcohol. This one has alcohol based, but it's not as much as like a Copic marker is super saturated with the alcohol, so you can blend and stuff. I like that the best, but I will buy other things like Artist Loft and Copic markers to do more, you know, colors on there. But since I'm covering it all, I don't really care. Like this, I'm going to do kind of a reddish, but I'm going to go back with like a bubblegum pink for that. So for the tongue. But just saying, like, I don't know. I like the concept dual tip markers. I make no money off of Jerry's Artorama saying that. I got these over a year ago. And, you know, I don't really have anything with them anymore as like a ambassador for them. But I can tell you they are a great, great, great purchase and super affordable. I got the 80 basic colors they sent me. And then they sent me another one. I think they forgot that they had sent me that. And they sent me one with 40. And so I use those as a backup. But like my black, I use a lot. So it is running out a lot. My kitty is here. Hi, Astrid. How you doing? She's just crawling around on the ground. Okay, I'm going to use a blue to add a blue. That is one thing with the dual tip markers is something will look blue and it'll be more green. Yep, but it's okay because I'm going to use paint over it that will make sure it's the color I want. I like a shape behind the background. More than I like coloring the whole background, I love just a spot of it and then having the colors push past it and the character design. So that's just me. You can do whatever you like. And yes, a rainbow will be going over this. I'm just adding this in the background. And you can also be like, you know what? I didn't like the color I chose and then paint over it. That's that is another reason I love this, is I can test out colors and be like, that doesn't look very good. And then I can use more of like a sky blue for my paints to cover this kind of teal blue. But sometimes I'll grab a purple out of the kit and then it comes out really pink, or I can grab a pink color is what it looks like with the cap, and then it's really purple. So always have a tester paper next to you to kind of test the color. And if you love it, use it. And if you don't love it, that's okay. I'm about to sneeze. I think I have another one. There we go. It's always this season. Cheers to this season. Take a sip. Okay, now you've probably noticed I haven't done the buckle or the nose yet, and I'm about to. I was deciding what color for the nose, and I think I'm going to go with kind of a peachy color. So I'm going to add a softer nose to it. And while I'm here, I'm just adding a little bit of this like rouge to the cheeks just to remind myself, like, don't forget to give it a little bit of color for the cheekies. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm very happy with that, and I want to grab a different color green. I have so many greens in this Copic kit that I actually want to use a darker green for this one. Okay, and my eyes I'm gonna color in with black. Thank you so much. I was like, can you guys see me in time? Yes, you can. So there's my little black eyes. Like, I just love them. They make me so happy. And it's not because like I think I'm good. It's a character that I truly have invested in. I'm in love with them. I just think they're darling. And I don't care if anyone else likes them. They are for me. Don't worry, you don't have to answer that. I know you do. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's why I'm obsessed with making my squatches into things, because I'm just like, oh, it's this season. What if we make a squatch into this? Oh, it's this season. Let's do a squatch as a bunny rabbit, you know, like as the Easter bunny. That way everybody kind of gets my character with a season that maybe they like, or a little holiday that they like. So now that I've done this, my rainbow will be done only in paint. So I'm not going to do my marker. You could if you want to, but I'm not even going to bother because I want it to be sheer and I don't want a dark marker color to block some of that in the background. So now that I've done this, I'm going to slowly walk over and grab my paint. So take this second to go to the bathroom, stretch your fingies. Oh, I just popped my finger. Get your water all set for your paint. If you're not painting with me today, maybe you've already done watercolor, you want to do watercolor, you're using colored pencil, you don't want any paint in your house, like whatever it is, that's fine. But if you want to paint along, you can. And if you want to pause this and say, you know what, I'm going to order these paints that are in the description because I want to do the exact same effect that they're doing, then you can always come back and rewatch this free workshop. And again, in the future, it won't be free unless, you know, I do something special one day. Sip and paints will cost $10 a month regularly. Sometimes they're at Ross or different places, but this bin has a lot of things in it, and I title my different colors, and it makes it even easier to find, easy to clean up, and I know exactly what colors I'm going through. I used to not do this, and it took forever, but like all my light greens are in here. So I'm gonna pull all the colors. Low, what other colors are we using? A bluish tone, let's go with light blues. All right, what other color do I need? Black. Okay, and I know on my black, I love using dark blue to kind of highlight it. So then I grab my dark blue. And for my rainbow, I'm gonna wait till my rainbow's kind of started and then I'll go from there. Okay, so I'm gonna put my paints close by. I'm gonna move my coffee cup because what happens? You end up dipping your paints in your coffee cup. It happens every time. I don't care what anyone says. You're not perfect. You do it too. You definitely do it too. I'm moving my markers out of my space. I'm trying to be very minimalist in my new studio because I tend to be cluttered and it's not messy. It's just that I tend to not stop. Once I start going, I don't stop and put things away. I'm a very messy worker. But like, I love that chaos so that when I clean, it feels really clean in my space. But now I'm trying to clean as I go. So that's why I said, take this time, pause, get yourself all reset. Okay, I'm gonna go through what I've just brought out. I have dark blues. I have black, brown, and yellow. I've kind of had to group some of them because I didn't have enough boxes for all my colors. I have light blues. I have yellow, dark green. Yes, my little labels are peeling off because I use them so much. And last one is light green. So I have everything to cover this background, and I want to work from back to front. And the very back is the very, very back. It is the background, okay? And that's the sky. So I'm pulling out some blues that I think would look nice back here. And I've got all of my paintbrushes close enough to just grab them and start. The one thing you need to know about Holbein acrylic gouache, okay? So Holbein right there, and acrylic gouache has the A at the top. Okay, a lot of them are just gouache, and that's more watercolory. It's like a thick watercolor. Acrylic gouache is, or acryla, however you want to say it, is like acrylic and watercolor together. So it dries fast like an acrylic, and when it's dry and you haven't touched it, you can't restart it up. Okay, can't keep adding water and reactivating it. But if you catch it early enough, you can reactivate it. But what's great is once it's dry and done, it's done. You can paint over it and it won't move. So that's like the acrylic part. The watercolor part is like you can add more water to it and really thin it out. The closest thing to this, for me, I think, is not getting gouache. The closest thing to this is getting acrylic paint. That's my personal opinion. So if acrylic paint is cheap and easy and great and easy to grab, especially if you live in a small town like I did, we only have Walmart. And Walmart's not going to carry Holbein gouache. So you can go and get cheap acrylic paints in like a craft section, and you can water it down, add a little bit of water, find a nice creamy consistency. But acrylic paint, you have to work really fast. Acrylic gouache, you get a little bit more time if it's thick and you're not using a lot of water. But if you're using water on it and you're thinning it out to a watercolor, then you're fine. So I know it's a lot to take in, but that is a tip that I can give you guys that I usually share during my sip and paints as well. Sometimes I forget to mention it, so you're getting that for sure here. I'm gonna start with my ice green, and my joke is always not ice cream, and I'm going straight from the tube. I don't even use a palette unless I'm in a mix, and I feel like if I mix today, it's gonna be just right on my painting. So I am using like a mop brush, but see how it's creating that texture, but I'm not having to cover every single thing. And look what it does naturally. It adds that beautiful shadow behind it to make it more illustrative and nice. And if I go over a bit of the character, it's fine because I'm gonna paint over that later. So I start with my darkest paint and work to my lightest. There's a couple cases where that won't work, but it's pretty rare. Usually you go dark to light. And a very dear friend of mine taught me that a long time ago. And ever since I learned that, I'm like, oh my gosh, it all makes sense. And it just makes my paints pop so much more, like all my paintings. Okay, so I'm just adding that texture to the background. If you clean your brush, okay, you got to make sure all the water's out of it to do this kind of dry brush technique to move quickly. You know it's drying, you're good. Like over here is going to dry pretty darn fast. Now, if you don't want to wait forever, you don't want to keep, oh, it's still wet, okay. That's why you buy backup brushes. You get the same brush and you get 2 of them. If you're smart like me, you keep adding and get like 3 or 4 of them. So that way I've cleaned that brush, it's off to the side drying, and I like the Viva towels for painting because you can use these forever. I don't throw them away easily. You have to like have nowhere to wipe off paint anymore. So that's why I use those over like a regular washcloth that you're just going to keep washing in the, what am I trying to say? Doing like a load of laundry. I want to make sure like I'm using something I can throw away because over time I've tried the washcloth thing. I've tried the microfiber towels. It doesn't always work as easily for me. So I just, I do the best I can and just keep those Viva towels forever. Hi, Kim. Thank you so much. Oh, Kim from Vegas. Fantastic. I'm so glad you're still here. I've thought about you. I found your little pin the other day and these days. And thank you, Lil M, for saying that. I'm so glad. We're just kind of finishing it up now with the paint. So see what I did? I used a lighter blue on top of my teal, and when it dries, it lightens, and you still get that marker in the background. That's why I said you kind of simplify. And it's okay to see that marker in the background. It's adding a natural like lighting texture that is so beautiful. I'm obsessed with it. I think it looks really neat when I do that. And me, but I'm just saying you can do it too. That's the great part. I'm bringing you into the fun. Okay, so now, thank you, Kim. So now I'm gonna go to my greens and I'm gonna kind of look at the greens I have to try to find one for the inside of the body and one for the outside of the body. So as I'm looking at it, I'm like, is it a warm green, kind of like in the warmer tones? Is it more of a cooler green? I kind of feel the cooler green, but if I do the cooler green for the inside and leave like, you know, edges with that kind of pea green in the back, what color do I want for this green? And it's like, this is a bit too bright. I want it a little more earthy. So I'm gonna move over. I'm gonna keep that one out as an idea. So this is like how I do it. I have to plan things out. I can't just all of a sudden be like, oh, I'm gonna paint it just green. I have to think what's gonna work well together. Like these are the same. These are light green. Okay, this one is slowly fading. This is cobalt green, which is more a step towards the color I had. Okay, and then I go to a really, really dark green, which is sap green. So I have to decide, like, do I want to warm them up? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with cobalt green, and I'm going to add light green to it. That way, once the cobalt green's down, it's going to be darker. This is, you know, kind of more of a sap green or a forest green. And then I'm going to move up to, like, the brighter colors. So we keep it in the light, happy critterosity brightness. Hi, Myra. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hi, Abigail. Glad you had a great show yesterday. Sad I don't live near the Riverside area. Didn't really know it was happening. And by the time I found out, I'm like, oh yeah, I have too much to do here. But congratulations on a good show from what I understand. Okay, so another tip you'll get if you take my sip and paint class, kids scissors. If your kids are doing this, be really careful. Once I've worked it in, I make sure the edge, the sharp edge, stays on the edge of the paint, and I twist and I twist and I twist, and guess what's gonna happen? Either my cats are playing or there's another lizard in the house. And there's a lizard. Give me 1 second, please. Thank you, Astrid. Did you find me a sweet, cute lizard? Oh, did you guys hurt the baby? He looks okay as a puncture wound. Told you guys, you never know what's going to happen on Sip and Paint Live. All right, little baby, I'm sorry. Okay, so sorry about that. I told you never know what's going to happen live. They keep bringing in lizards on this new place we moved to. It is lizard mania. So we have a lizard in here at least twice a day. Okay, it was amazing and total whirlwind, but a blast. Thank you so much, Kim. Since I left Instagram, that's good that you left Instagram and Facebook. Good for you. Time to go, I say. And yes, the poor lizard, he does have a good bite on his back, but I think he's much better than the couple I've had to remove the last few days. All right, so we're gonna take pale lime, okay? And I'm just, again, this is how I paint. If you paint a different way, you paint that way, okay? Yes, Vanessa, hi, good morning. Yeah, it's constant, and here it's even more woodsy, so even though we are by a street, it's a lot of woodsiness around here. All right, so I'm taking see how this back color is starting to disappear with the brighter color? This is a Deerfoot brush. I always call it like an angled pouncer. As a face painter, we call these pouncer brushes. But this company, Princeton, makes these, and a lot of other companies do too, but Princeton's the most affordable. And hello. If you are an artist, you are on a budget. I don't care what you say. So if you have a lot of money, go for it. But to be honest, I've even owned really expensive brushes, and I find cheap brushes do the same thing, okay? There are some where you're going to be like, no, this one specifically has to be by a nicer company. go for it. But I don't pay more than $10 a brush. It just seems crazy to me because I don't treat my brushes very good. I end up rotating them out a lot. So I'm like, let's keep it on the budget, okay? Don't care how much money I make. If I was a famous artist, right, and had all this money and sold things for millions of dollars, I'd probably still use Princeton brushes. True story, okay? I'm here. All right, so like I said, I'm not worried about the edges of that other color showing through. I like the two tones together, okay? So whatever floats your boat, you do it. But for me, I'm not trying to cover all the paint. And in person, it honestly doesn't look as harsh as it does through the camera. It's more of a subtle pastel, and it looks really nice with the two colors together. I can see through the camera, it's nice, but it's really saturated through the camera, and that's not how the painting is in person. Okay, so we move on to the one where I cleared out the paint booger and then had to carry a lizard out, almost the same color as this paint. I'm using that same brush. I haven't even changed it or cleared it, okay? Is he on a budget? I don't know. Is he on a budget? We should ask him, what brushes do you use? How funny. I think most of it's digital though, right? Isn't it all digital for Shag? I almost thought you put Shaq, and I was like, I don't know if Shaq paints. I think he mostly played basketball. Okay, and I'm using this in all the areas that are thicker that I know I'm okay, like inside the lines. When I get to areas that are smaller, I'll be changing the brush up. Okay, so for right now, I'm using this Deerfoot brush from Princeton. All right. Or by Princeton, not from Princeton. That sounds like I went there. I went to Princeton and I picked up these brushes. Okay, now I'm going to load up a round brush. I added a tiny bit of water just so that it goes in smoothly. But when I say a tiny bit of water, I'm talking just enough to activate it. Just enough to get it to be a little smooth, but not enough to be like runny and watercolory, okay? Just the tip of my brush in there. Just the tip of the brush. And I'm using a larger round brush. So see, it just added enough so I can pull it and it works. If it's like just running down your brush, that is way too much water if you're trying to do this kind of dry brush technique. And, you know, some people have chosen to use palettes for everything. I usually only bring out a palette, like I said, when I'm mixing. So, you know, to each their own. All right, now that I've done that, it needs to dry just a little bit. I'm going to take a little sip of my coffee, okay? And when I'm letting things dry, I move on to something else. The next thing I would work on is my horns, not only because they technically would be the next thing I'd work on, but that rainbow has to go over it, and I want this one really dry so that I can move over it. But look, I mean, the paint's already dry on the page. So that is why I love doing more of the dry brush. I can move quickly. All right, for this one, I'm using deep yellow, and I'm going to use cream yellow with it. So this is somewhere where I'd be like, I should really grab another piece of paper, which I'm in a new place, so give me 1 second. Yeah, that worked. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm just gonna slide it under a little. I'm gonna use another, what is that? Deerfoot brush. Yes, the Deerfoot brush. He still paints with acrylic on board, not computer. Oh, okay, there you go. I feel like everything's digital, but no, we're still on board. Yeah, I would ask him, hey, what brushes do you use? All right, so I'm loading up my deep yellow, and that was a color I avoided for a long time. I was like, I'll never use that color. I don't need it in my kit, but now it's one of my favorite go-to colors. So you never know, buy those colors. It might call for it depending on what you're using. Okay, I have a lot of paint boogers in this one. I can still get my paint through it, but you're gonna see some little clumps here and there in the paint. I apologize. All right, so I'm just coating the whole thing. Okay, just like my background, I'm gonna go over with a lighter color. All right, and I'm gonna come back with my cream yellow over it, but let me let that dry. Look, Oh, sorry. That always looks like it's still damp. Look, it's dry. So now we go back to our fur while our horn's dry. See how you can bounce around to all the places? And I believe most things are fixable, so I don't get angry if something a little bit bigger. Okay, I am using another kind of like mop brush. This one's called the Fluffy Mop, which I love the name. All right, and I'm just gonna bring this over so that I can dry brush. And I want my textures to move in the way the arm's going. So I want to pull back and then down for when I'm doing the fur that's dropping down. So gravity's pulling it down. This one, he's holding his arm out. Now I'm starting to notice as I work, this color isn't much different than the color under it. I think I need to add another brighter green to this. So I'm going to work with where I can. If there's a shadow under his arm, I'm going to skip right under the arm and do it more at the bottom where the light's hitting it. Because remember, the arm's casting a shadow right there. I'm not gonna paint crazy towards the back. I'm just gonna add a little bit of highlight. Then I'm gonna add highlight to the top of the hair tufts because what happens? The sun is up there probably and hitting it or something with light. All right, so I just drag my fluffy mop brush around. Just a reminder to everybody is that acrylic gouache usually dries lighter than when you're putting it on. So it's gonna get brighter and brighter as it goes. All right, I'm gonna let that dry and I think I'm gonna mix in a brighter green to that just so it really pops and is more, not pastel, but just like a brighter color. I've noticed I need to do those cheeks with the rouge and I didn't grab my pink colors that I always usually have on my desk. So I want to grab my coral red, one of my all-time favorite colors. Okay, if you paint with me regularly on my Sip and Paint rewards, you know that coral red is one of my all-time favorite go-to colors. It's always my cheek color, but I'm also into mixing it with other colors so we get it a little lighter. So I'm gonna take shell pink, so coral red and shell pink. All right, and I want to find something like a mop brush or one of my Deerfoot brushes. My Deerfoot brushes, and I think I've used a good chunk of mine. A few of mine have disappeared since I've started painting, just like since I moved here. So I know I need to add more to my paintbrush sets, but I'm gonna clear off one of my other ones right now. And I'm just cleaning my brush. Okay, just a reminder, you can sign up for my Sip and Paint rewards. It's $10 a month. You can join and cancel at any time. Just remember, my rewards go out a month after everyone's paid. So if you sign up unlisted, and I always remind anyone that pays for them, hey, don't be sharing this link, okay? This is how I make my living. You paid for it, so do other people, you know? You gotta be fair, you gotta be fair. So now what I'm doing is I wanna get that shape, okay, for my cheek. So now I'm gonna take my little pouncer brush and I've mixed in my two colors. So my coral red is toned down and I do shell pink. And if I wanna add a circle, I kind of pounce it first. Okay, I'm okay to go a little bit over. Now remember, paint you can cover, but marker you can't always cover it. So I'm okay to go over my tooth and know that I can paint back over it. And whatever's left, I'm just doing a little bridge across the nose, just a little one. And if I want to add textures, I can even go in with my shell pink, which is the lighter one, get more of that on my brush and add a little highlight pounce. Okay, so more of a little highlight going across. If you can't see this very well, I apologize. Once I take a photo and share it on my Instagram, you'll probably see it better. All right, now that I've used and mixed those two colors, I can use my coral red for the nose and just take it right from the tube this way. I'm just gonna grab a small round brush, a smaller round brush, and I'm gonna add it to the nose. So that way it's like a dark reddish color or a dark pink. All right, usually this is great for my tongue as well, just taking it right from the tube like this, but I'm gonna make my tongue a little more of a, doesn't match the cheeks. Even though we use coral red, we mixed in shell pink, which softened it, and then when they paint, I used to be one, and I've realized if you let things dry and you be patient, you can go over most stuff. You can go back and clean it up with a smaller brush. So speaking of the green, it's pretty much ready. I'm gonna go back to my ice green, and I'm gonna mix it into the last color I did, which was light green. So I'm putting these two together to see if I can create more of like a highlight to it. And I'm going to be using, sorry I keep hitting this, but it's as I'm going to pick up a brush, I'm going to use my split brush, another wonderful brush if you're doing a lot of fur or hair. It's really cool. It just comes like this already pre-split, and I used to use a lot of this stuff for when I face painted. So I'm going to go with my light green. Okay, I'm going to add a touch of ice green. Actually, more ice green than light green because I want it to really start to show. And I'm going to take a touch of water. Touch. I'm talking tiny here. Okay, we don't want to totally ruin this. We want it to be nice. And then I'm going to load up my brush back and forth, flipping it over, rolling it in the paint. Go to a dry area on my palette and kind of knock some of that off. Knock it off. And I'm going to add this. Yes, that's what I was hoping for. I wanted something much brighter. I've got my fingers and all I'm doing is putting my brush on its side so the longer part shows instead of flat. Flat will create, just like our marker we used earlier, it will create a thicker line. So if you want a thinner line, you just turn it on its side and you'll have more control of it that way. And now I'm going to go downward and just splash the highlights here and there. I don't want it to be perfect. Nothing is perfect, but I just want to add a little highlight to some of the spots. And look how that dark green is still shining through. Okay, I'm not hiding it all. I'm going over that mistake I made with the cheek. Okay, and it just goes back. And as it's hidden in the background and hidden by the little pot back here, you don't want to add too much highlight because that's more in the dark. All right. So there we go. And we'll clean up the line work and stuff later. Right now I'm just adding the colors to it. Okay, so that was the green I was hoping for from the get-go, and I wasn't getting it. So now that I have got it, it's fantastic. I love it. All right, I'm gonna take an angle brush, and I'm gonna take cream yellow, and I'm gonna add highlights to the horns. And all I'm going to do is load it up dry on my brush. Look how nice these colors look together. Very spring. All right. I'm just pulling it. And then you can even move your palette like me. I'm afraid I'm going to put my arm right in it. And I'm going to take my angle brush and add a highlight going up. Okay. And a highlight point. And it's only going down the center. Okay. It's just a highlight. It's not covering the whole horn. So you just want to pull, 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 pull. There we go. Good stuff. All right. Now that we have that little highlight, it's going to pop more when we go over our line work with solid colors, okay? Right now we're seeing a lot of the black from the marker, but I'll be adding line work with something else. If you're still here, thank you so much for tuning in live. You can always ask questions while I work. And if I'm not live and you're watching this on a future date, sorry that you missed us, okay? So now we want to do the gold here, and I'm going to use a different yellow than I did for the horns. Remember when I said it's going to be more gold? I'm going to use a mustard yellow. That way the yellow gold will be different from this gold, but then I'm going to add gold paint to it to make it shimmer. So I'm not too worried about it being like the perfect color yellow. I just want something a little different when it shines through. So mustard yellow is for this gold. It's going to tone down that yellow a lot. And I want to avoid his finger, and I'm just using a larger round brush. This is your typical brush you'll see in a lot of packs. You can buy those cheapo packs of acrylic paint brushes, or you can use Princeton. Okay, I'm not worried about this area because I'm going to draw a nice black line across. All right, and now while that's drying, I know we just keep moving and moving and grooving. We're going to paint the black for his hat and his eyes, and then we'll add the buckle and everything over the hat. So I'm cleaning off a smaller round brush because the eyes are kind of a roundish, and I'm using black. I want to make sure all the paint is off even this part of my brush. That's why you don't want to fill up your water cup like this, because you're just going to have water run down, and all you're doing is probably drying this part. I do it all the time. I try to get my water to about here, and then when I dry off my brush, I try to pull it across to get the water off of my brush, okay? That's how I do it. Again, there is no right or wrong way. It's just your way. Okay, now we're gonna take primary black. I'm adding a little bit of water to my brush, grabbing it just on the end of the brush, and I want to make sure I work over on the side here to roll my brush and make sure it's all on there, all equal, no water's running down. Okay, and then I can take it and shape it. Now, if you push down very lightly, or not even push down, I should say just like barely graze, you're gonna get more control over your brush and it's gonna make smaller little designs. If you're pushing down on your brush, it's gonna flatten your brush, which is gonna thicken it. So you don't wanna push down too hard. You don't want too much water while you're doing that. And I'm gonna work on the hat. Okay, so I wanna do my swoop. See, I'm pushing down. It's creating a really nice thick line, and then I'm gonna end on kind of a point for each end. Hi, kitty. I know you're bumping me with your forehead. What do you need, mama? We just caught a lizard and I put it outside because I don't want you to eat it. Okay, I'll get you food in just a minute. We're almost in black with marker. So there we go. And we're gonna come down. The cat is looking like she wants to bite my leg. Hi, kitty. Please don't bite me. All right. Now remember, there's a horseshoe shape in here that we will eventually see better, but just go nice and slow. We wanna draw the flat line for our pot of gold, and it starts to curve around. Now I'm gonna be turning my piece back over. Okay, and we're going to go from back here, draw a line around and make sure it's flat to the finger. Astrid, I might have to feed her some dry food just to keep her busy, because that's her hitting my chair with her forehead. Hold on, kitty. Hold on, kitty, kitty. Okay, so there we go. And you can add a little bit more water to this to really make it start to spread out a little faster. Remember, if I'm going too fast, you can always pause, rewind, rewatch at another time. You don't need to do this all at the same time as me. All right, I feel like I wasn't getting enough black paint on my brush to keep moving. There we go. So now we're starting to get it. I want to go around the little fingers, nice and soft. If you need more water to point your brush, roll your brush around to bring it to a point. And then very carefully, while it's still loaded, you can always go back and fix the fingers if you need to. But there we go, we got the pot of gold on this side. And I've got some water. There we go. If your brush is starting to fray, be very careful with it, because if it starts to fray and you get down on the white areas that you didn't really want to get any paint on, you need to get newer brushes, or you really need to load up better and roll your brush. Hi, kitty. She's sticking her claws into my sweater saying, feed me, woman. Okay, I'm gonna feed her. You guys keep going. If you need to take a quick break, this is a great time to do it. Come on, kitty. There you are. Hi. Did you catch a lizard today? Yeah. There you go. There you go. Eat your foods. There she goes. She doesn't like the dry food. She likes wet food. So she always looks at me like, oh, how dare you? Okay, I also realized in the back of the mouth is a darker red that we need. So I'm going to use my crimson, which I love for backgrounds or back of the mouths. It's like, because a lot of people will choose black, which is fine. But there's so much dark on the character that I'm going to be lightening with like dark blues. I don't want the back of the mouth to be black as well. So I'm just using crimson red. There are some paint boogers in it, but I think I can move quickly without having to clear those out right now. So I'm using my round brush and I'm starting to see water drip down, which means I didn't get the water off my brush there, off the handle. So now I'm gonna take a round brush, point it when I load up my brush. Remember, rolling it will help do that. I'm gonna go around my teeth and I'm gonna go ahead and cover up where I started to do my cheek. Okay, and the marker has done most of the work. So I'm not too worried about being perfect here. I just want to splash that paint down. Okay, and then we're gonna take green. Now you choose what green. Since I used a lighter green, I'm gonna go ahead and use this light green right from the tube, because remember we used teal, like that ice green color, to go over it to make it brighter. So now it is two different greens, but I like the brightness of this one for that. And I'm just going around it, and while I have it on my brush, I might go back and add some little low lights over here. Maybe some low lights. That's up to you how you want to do it. Where is my ice green color? There it is. I'm going to fix my fingers a little bit where the little pot is that I kind of covered up. And I'm just going to take my round brush, which makes perfect fingers if you just touch down and pull back. Okay? Perfect little fingers. There we go. And remember, I say nothing's perfect, but in my world, that's pretty darn perfect. Getting those little rounded parts. Okay. Now, I've got everything kind of drying and moving. I want to focus on these horns because I need to do any line work before I cover it up. Okay, and that's why I wanted to work on my hat and my horns. So let's get those going first. And then once I do those, we can start working on the rainbow slowly but surely. Now we go to a dark blue, and I usually use like a bluish green. Don't forget to drink, because I know this is getting pretty cold now. I basically went to a cold brew while I've been talking. Okay, I'm using turquoise blue. I'm going to use one of my larger pouncer brushes. Let's see. My Deerfoot brush, this one here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up the brush and just kind of press down as I'm loading. And then I'm going to wipe it off on my palette. Okay, until it gets pretty dry. There we go. Oops, sorry about that. And I'm going to pull it as long as this is dry enough. I don't want it to turn completely blue. I'm just adding a little highlight of blue to soften it. Same with the hat. You know how it has that little shiny line? Now, I've been doing this a really long time. So if you see me just going in and like, here, just put this here, that's been a lot of practice of learning brush control. So if you need a smaller brush to do what I just did, go for it. I can also use an angle brush to do some of that texture as well. Load up a little bit more. Okay, and then you can take an angle brush and just pull. Make sure most of the water is off your brush, or no water at all, which is what I did. Okay, then I'm going to pull a little more. There we go. All right, now I want to do one more light blue. I'm not going to clear my brush off. I want to keep it still where I'm at. And I'm going to do a peacock blue. Okay, and so I went from turquoise blue to peacock blue. Yes, they are different. One's more of a green and the other one's more of a blue. So this one again is peacock blue. It's a really pretty color. I'm gonna go back over some of this just to bring it back. And don't worry, I know there's a handle, a little like a horseshoe handle. I'm very aware of that. We're gonna do even one more tone on top of it, but I wanna let it dry first, okay? That way when it dries. Yeah. Bless you. All right, I'm gonna use burnt sienna. This is like a reddish brown, and I'm going to grab my a really small round brush. There's a really small tip on that one, and I'm going to load this up, kind of wipe it off on the edge. I have a little bit of water on my brush. I don't want the water running down this little well, so I'm going to stop there. Okay, now I just added that to the pot, so I want to make sure I'm not like putting my hand over that part that I just painted. All right, if you want it to be really thinned out, add more water. Okay, and we can go and do the little lines. Whoop. This is so that we can paint our rainbow very soon. We want this to be dry, so when we add all the paint to our rainbow, it doesn't fully cover it. Okay, and I'm going to do the other side while I have that paint. And see, I'm just going past where I kind of accidentally got the paint outside of the horn. Okay, I want to go a little bit past that. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit more paint down here while I've got it. Not my favorite brush right here, but it is doing the job. It's a little, it comes out a little too thick because the brush isn't a really good liner brush. Could always switch to my liner brush, but I'm being lazy. Okay. This one tends to keep the water close and then it just runs down and drips everywhere. So I'm trying to go quick enough that doesn't happen. Okay, happy with that. I'm gonna add my little lines under his eyes, kind of looking a little sleepy. I love those. I'm gonna use my peacock blue I had out. I know it's not green, but it's kind of close to a greenish look. All right, I'm just rolling that same brush while I have it, and I just wanna make sure no water is running down. So it's a little softer. There we go. And I'm gonna use it to kind of, I'm drying it off with just some water, and I'm just kind of grabbing it and pulling it again. Whoop. And now I can soften it with the original color I had. So right now it's just a really dark line. I go back and I soften it with the first color from the background for the inside of the fur. So now I can just kind of go whoop, and I go over it again. Whoop, and thin that out. That way you can still see it, but it's not as prominent as it was. Now he needs his eyebrows, which I'm gonna go to a darker green. I'm gonna go to my sap green for the eyebrows. This is like the equivalent of doing a black line for like things that you want without using black. You wanna use the darkest tone from that family. And this one is sap green in the green family. So that I have in my kit. I'm not saying it's the darkest green you can get with paint, but it's the darkest one for what I'm using here. Okay, and since I have that, I want to use it for all my outlining. Okay, so it's just kind of adding outlines back. You can use a bright color to outline, or you can use a dark color. I'm kind of the dark color to outline things. It depends on the piece. Sometimes I will go light, but I'd rather use this darker shade to really work with this one because I think a lot of him is light and I want to make that show by having that contrast. Just keep adding some more fingers only, not the tops of my fingers, just underneath the fingers. That way the light is going to stay on top of the hands, okay? So we're going to notice that the fingers are just, you know, what they are. They show up either way. Add my line work back here to get rid of my marker underneath here. And that's it. I'm just hiding all my marker. Okay, let's do one last thing to our horns. Let's take that cream yellow again. Okay, and we're gonna add a little highlight, and I'm just using one of my split brushes. And I just add a little bit of highlight, pulling down right through the middle. Okay, if you mess up, guess what? You can fix it. Oh, fixing things is fun. All right, and then I'm gonna go to, this is dry. So I'm gonna take one of my dry brushes and I'm gonna add some ice green to that just to add one more highlight, but this is gonna be really faded, okay? I'm talking really wipe it off my brush. And then I'm going to come back and I'm gonna add it as a last highlight, just one more bright highlight. Okay, it's super dry on my brush. It's just adding one more highlight, and guess what it does? It softens the black so you can really see it pop. All right, and I wanna add to my gold a little bit before I add regular gold. I'm gonna add some bright little pieces of yellow. And the way we did the eyes, we used that round brush. I'm gonna use that same technique that we did for the eyes. And I'm gonna grab a different yellow, a brighter yellow. You can use cream yellow if you want. You can mix a color. I'm going to take it right on the end of the round brush and watch this. It's fully loaded up. And I just splash in some yellows and then I decide, okay, is that enough? No, I think I need cream yellow to add even another tone. Again, we're gonna add we're going to add gold to the gold, like real painted gold, not real gold, but like a gold paint to make it shimmer. I'm using cream yellow added to this kind of equation and splash these at different angles, different sizes, all that. So we see the other yellow behind it pop, and then you're seeing the brighter ones show up like they are like coins or gold. Okay, now I'm gonna do white for my teeth. And here's the thing. I use acrylic white because acrylic white is the best white you can use in a painting. You can get gouache or acrylic gouache white, but it always comes out transparent. So I wanna make sure I'm using the best like solid white I can. And so I grab acrylic white. Whoops, sorry, didn't mean to bump that. Whoop. Okay, I'm just loading up another round brush. And now I'm gonna go through and do anything white that I need to. Remember when I told you that if you go onto the red, it might not show up white? True story. So you gotta be really careful going on the red, because if that marker comes through, it just seeps right through it and ruins the white shade. So be really careful when you are painting white to not go really too far outside of where you planned for white. All right, while I have that, I'm gonna add a dot, and I'm gonna press down with my finger, and then I take a new finger that doesn't have the white on it, press down, that's adding 2 soft highlights. I want a brighter highlight for the nose, so I'm just dragging it across. Okay, picking up a little bit of this paint, and then I'm gonna add 1 more highlight to the ears. The horns. Okay, 1 more highlight there. And if you want to, and it's pretty dry, you can add a little highlight to your pot of gold, maybe to the hat. Add a little bit of white. There we go. Alrighty, what is next, Eva? We're going to make the tongue. We're almost to the paint going over here. We just had to let all that dry really quick. Okay, the paint on the tongue is going to be a mix between coral red and light pink, or pink. Coral red and pink. Let's see what I got here. Pink and all right, we're gonna take the pink and we're going to take a little bit of coral red, which is a very deep, pink color, and we're gonna mix them together. I might even need more light pink. Can start a new pile over here. There we go. And then you get like a bright pink tone. And it may not show up to you really well. And if you need to, you can clear off your brush and just go back with pink, light pink, and it'll start to blend in. Then when it's dry, you can add a highlight of just the pink color, the bright pink color, so the coral red starts to fade away. Okay, so see, there are 3 different tones of pink just by mixing things. We have coral red and pink, we have coral red by itself, and then we have coral red and shell pink mixed together to make it light. Okie dokie. Now I'm going to make the little handle, the little U shape. If it's disappeared, I'm sure you guys remember, you can always rewind, or you can just watch me do it and then go, oh, that's right. The U shape was 2 flat lines with a U in between to look like a fun little horseshoe shape to keep that lucky going. I'm using a thinner, smaller round brush, tapping off my paint, doing a U shape, and then doing a flat line and a flat line that we drew earlier. See, I can do it with a paintbrush pretty quickly. But when we were drawing it, I wanted you to understand that concept and that shape. We also want to make sure the bottom has black here and just underneath has the shine, because we want it to look like the base is not connected. It's like underneath. I mean, it is connected, but it's under. Why do I have a feeling my cat's going to bring in a lizard right now? He just ran by like he got something. Okay, so there you go. So it's a lot of learning highlights and shading. Okay, we've got this side. Right, anywhere you think you need to add black. And then we're gonna add gold everywhere on mine to really make things start to pop. But see how I dipped my finger into the white to make sure it wasn't as bright as the nose? Those are all different things like I think about when I'm doing it. It's like I like a softer shine so it looks like it's still furry but shiny. Even though I know it's fur, it wouldn't really have it for this purpose. Touches and adding last minute stuff and the rainbow. Pick out your colors for the rainbow. I'm going to go with a coral red. I'm going to go with pink. I'm going to go with my teal or ice green is going to be in the mix. So it goes red, yellow. I like this cream yellow. I think it goes really nice. I'm going to build my rainbow right here as I clean up. I'm going to grab colors that I need and move colors I don't need. Let's see. So red, yellow, green, blue, but I'm using this as both right here, this color. And then it goes to like purple, but instead of using a purple, I'm gonna probably use more of a pink tone. Let me see what I have in pink, like regular old pink. I'm gonna go with magenta. I don't think I can use this one anymore. I think it's pretty done. I'll leave it out just in case, but this is like regular gouache, but this was a really pretty color they don't make, which opera pink they do have in acrylic gouache, but it's more of a fluorescent. This is more of a grounded, like earthy opera pink. So really pretty color to have, and gouache was like the only way to go, like regular gouache was the only way to go for that. Sorry about hitting the camera. It happens all the time, no matter how much I try to avoid it. Okay, and I'm just putting lids on all the things I'm not going to be using right now. Okay, so now I'm ready to start the rainbow. Taste the rainbow. All right, all this is dry, so I can pretty much work over that. So the trick to this is going to be watering it down without watering it too much. You just want enough water to make them a thinner consistency. So I take this one, okay, and I'm going to add it to my palette. All right, but I want it to be watery so that it's more like a watercolor and see-through. So first I mix the colors I want. So I mixed pink, this pink with coral red, just like I did for the tongue. All right, and then I'm going to add some water to it. And I want to clean off my brush. I want a very clean brush. All right, and I'm just using like a mop brush, and I want more water. See how it's making it more translucent? And then I'm going to drag it down, but I want it to be soft as it goes in. So whoop, I want to get my point. I want to see my hat. See how my hat's shining through? I want to see that. I want it to be transparent. If it's not transparent enough and you're using acrylic gouache, just take water on your brush only and pull it again. Wipe off the excess, okay? Just take water on your brush and pull down, and then it will keep making it more and more transparent. Now, before it dries, you need to get that next color going so they have a nice blend together. So I take my mop brush again. I want a lot of water. Take a little scoop of it, add it to your palette. See how it's kind of transparent? We're going to add that and bring it down. Okay, and the two of them together kind of make an orange. Again, it's transparent. All right, this is where the fun is. This is the magic, testing out all your colors. Before it dries, we go to our ice green. Start that on my palette somewhere. Make sure I have water. If your water is changing the color, you need to clean out your water first, okay? Now this one I'm gonna add peacock or turquoise blue to, sorry, just a tiny bit. It's a really dark color, but I need turquoise blue to make it more blue because I'm losing it in the background where we use kind of the same tone. So I use turquoise blue into that. All right, and more water to thin it out. There we go. You can always go back with colors, but for me, I'm really liking the way this is working out. And then we have magenta. All right, now what about my marker lines? Don't worry about those yet. We'll get to that later. There we go. I'm not too worried about the marker edges. Now, if you're like, I love it, leave it the way it is, okay? If you feel like you need to add something to it, you're not feeling it, okay? I'm feeling like I need a little bit more of that pink in there. I'm gonna still water everything down. I'm gonna add a little bit more pink, just a highlight of pink. I feel like I need a little more yellow. I water it down, grab a tiny bit, make sure it's transparent. And now that those first colors are down, I can kind of add to it, you see? And I have the greenish color. I wonder if I can add just turquoise blue. See, these are questions I have, and I will test them out like a scientist with paint. Like, okay, what if I add that? Yeah, now it pops. Okay, cool. And then the last one was that magenta. It's purple, but I want more pink added to it. So I'm gonna take my pink color and I'm gonna mix it with the magenta and barely add magenta to it, just barely, because it will totally change the color of it. Okay, there we go. Okay, it's a little too dark to go with, you know, kind of that see-through look we had. So I'm gonna take just water on my brush and pull. And there we go. And like I said, I can add stars, I can add, but this one we watered down and it allowed us to still see through it. And again, you can add splashes of brighter colors to it, but that's up to you if you wanna do that. And as much as I think I've gone over everything in like the few years, I think I've been doing sip and paints for 3 years now, maybe 2 years. I learn something new all the time. I teach something new all the time. You just never know. It depends on the painting that we all vote for. So enjoy these free lessons because you'll always get something new. And I'm going to go live on Instagram. I will save my live video, but Critterosity on Instagram if you don't already follow. And I'm going to go and add all the gold and all the glitter. I love sharing that part with everybody to try to intrigue them to come and learn with me, and see how it can go from, okay, that's good, to like, really, wow, this is amazing. I am gonna add my lips to the outside of this. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's so nice to know people are still here. Hello. I'm gonna use a liner brush. These ones can fray, but the more water you add, the better. And I'm going to decide, what color do I want to go around the mouth? I think I'm going to use my green, but I'm going to use my brighter green, my light green color. And I'm going to trace around the mouth, okay, and close it up. There we go. So if for some reason you watch this at a future date and you're like, wait a minute, when did she go live? I wanted to see all the glitter. It's going to be saved in my IGTV usually. If I save my live video, I can see it again later. So just find this one in my IGTV saved videos. Okay. So here's that. Sometimes I do like lips on the outside of my characters. Sometimes I don't. It really depends on what the piece calls for when I'm doing it. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of this green under the eyes. There we go. Cute little character. All right, if you're ready to continue the magic, come over to Instagram Live, Critterosity. I'm just going to go straight over there and turn it right on. Thank you to purchase if you have